All righty, sir. All right, sir. We'll do roll call. Delvo.
Yes.
Schuler.
Matt's on vacation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
There we
Matt's
go.
me.
All right. Dorf.
Here.
Dean.
Here.
Hinkfist.
Here.
Parma.
Here.
Reardon. Yeah, Melody's here. Yep. All right. We have a quorum, sir.
Yes, a very good quorum. A motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
Kathy
Second.
and Debbie, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you. And we got minutes actually from two meetings that I looked at, looked fine to me, but anyway, January 11th and January 27th. Motion to approve those minutes, please.
Move to approve.
Allerdorf,
Second.
Second, Bridget.
Bridget, second by Bridget. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Great, thank you. Regular order of business, first thing, consideration of possible action regarding preliminary terms and conditions related to requests for tax incremental finance assistance for a redevelopment project at 419 North Broadway. Neil,
Yes, sir. We would actually request that we go ahead and take this into closed session for just an overview of the project, if we could,
Okay.
please.
I move to go into closed session.
motion by Allerdorf,
Second.
by Kathy, I believe, I'm sorry.
Do you want me to read the
Yes, please.
language?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
if you would. Thank
right.
you.
The committee may convene in closed session pursuant to sections 19.851E Wisconsin statutes for purposes of deliberating or negotiating the sale of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business as necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons. The committee will thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 19.852 Wisconsin statutes to take action on items discussed in closed session, if appropriate, and to consider the remainder of the agenda.
Roll call, I guess, Neil.
Oh,
Roll call?
yep. Delvo.
Yes.
Dorf.
Yes.
Dean.
Yes.
Hinkfist.
Yes.
Parma.
Yes.
And Reardon.
Yes.
All right.
All right.
Good.
If we could please.
Let's do a roll call then, Neil.
Moment here
I have to
for-
make a motion. I move that we return to open session.
Motion, Allerdorf.
Second by Parma.
All right, great. The motion is second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
I think we also need to do a roll call though, Neil.
We'll do a roll call just to be on the safe side. Absolutely. Delvo.
Yes.
Dorf.
Yes.
Dean. Oops. That's okay.
Yes.
Hinkfist.
Yes.
Parma.
Yes.
Reardon.
Yes.
We are back in open session, Mr. Chair.
All right. I'll entertain, I'm not sure we need a motion. I'm just gonna state this and see if this is fine enough, that in closed session, RDA instructed staff to continue working with developer on the project, preliminary definition of project we saw. And unless you guys don't need to have a motion, but I think we just need to report back out. That's what we just did. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Number 2, consideration of possible action to approve and recommend to the Common Council the State of Green Bay Action Plan for the Home American Rescue Plan Home-ARP Entitlement Program. Who's got that?
That would be I, Mr. Delvo. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to be bringing this forward to all of you. So as you've read in the agenda report, the city of Green Bay received approximately $1.9 million of home ARP funds. Now I wanted to just take a brief amount of time to add some context behind these dollars, because as you've probably realized and read about, there's a lot of funding floating out there right now between the ARPA funds that have been discussed most recently at Finance Committee and Council, and then these home ARP funds. So these home funds were included or a part of the American Rescue Plan Act that went forth, passed through Congress. And what they did was they allocated $5 billion to the home program. Now, as you know, we already have a home program, receive an annual allocation from HUD, and we primarily use those home dollars for the development of affordable housing, to use as developer subsidy. And then we also use those funds to fund our home improvement loan program as well. These funds, and I'm going to share my screen here. I just have a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation here. If it allows me to.
Do you have the green share screen button at the bottom, Will?
Here we go. I got her.
There we go. There it
Thank-
comes. Yep,
Thank
there
you.
you go.
Thank you. All right. So just to add a little context behind these, because these are a little bit different. HUD made some adjustments to how these funds can be used and who are eligible, who are the eligible beneficiaries of these home ARP dollars. So really, in the past, our home program, as long as the household is at 80% or below area median income, they were eligible programming funded by these dollars. Whether that's the home improvement loan program or, for instance, in subsidy for an affordable housing. I mean, that's really what we gauge, were those units designated for households at 80% AMI. With these home ARP funds, really their purpose of these funds is to address the need for homelessness assistance and supportive services right now caused by the pandemic. So they've changed this now. So you kind of have to be eligible to receive these funds or use these funds, you need to be serving a demographic that is a qualified population. And HUD defines qualified population as individuals who are homeless, at risk of homelessness, fleeing or attempting to flee domestic violence and human trafficking. And then other populations where providing supportive services or assistance would prevent the family's homelessness or would serve those with the greatest risk of housing instability. And then once that box is checked, then there's also income level. So as opposed to 80% area median income, these funds really need to be serving a population that are at 30% or below area median income. So we're talking really the far end of the spectrum there. And HUD really looked at limiting the activities of that these funds can be used for. So really we're looking at the acquisition, construction, or rehab of affordable housing. And again here, 70% of the units that are funded by these home ARP dollars need to be set aside for qualified populations. So those at the far end. HUD recognizes the challenges that will create in financing and funding a development, affordable housing development. So then they are allowing 30% then of any units funded with these home ARP dollars to serve or to develop units that will serve households at the 80% area median income to help diversify that. These funds can also be used for tenant-based rental assistance. They can be used for supportive services, which is a very broad term, but really that is everything from mental health to AODA services. And then the purchase of and the development of non-congregate shelter. And of course, there is a set aside 15%. HUD allows 50% of our allocation to be used for administration and planning. If there are certain studies or further market studies that are needed in our area to justify a new service or program, dollars from these can be used to help fund planning and studies for that. And that brings us to the budget. And now in developing this budget, myself and other staff have sat down one-on-one with every shelter in our community our housing authorities, and then also a state agency as well. So our continuum of care for the state of Wisconsin, who covers this region. We sat down with our representative there to really look at, okay, where are the greatest needs right now in Green Bay, in greater Green Bay? Where are the priorities and what should these funds be used for? Because HUD really wants to ensure that we're using these funds to fill a gap or an unmet need in our community. So with that, I can tell you the top categories, the top areas that service providers and shelters told us that we need to invest dollars in is affordable housing, plain and simple. And as you can see from the action plan that was included in the packet, a number of our shelters, they have residents of people that they're serving that are eligible to move on, to move to that next step beyond shelter. But plain and simple, there is no available housing units right now for the people that they're serving. And they're also having an increasingly difficult time developing relationships with landlords, so that landlords will will rent to the individuals that they're serving, whether that's with a voucher or trying to help them look beyond criminal background or past eviction background. So affordable housing was a huge need. Also supportive services, primarily an increase in mental health services and AODA services. The demographic that was mentioned, or the population that was mentioned the most by the service providers you were speaking with, is that unsheltered population. The individuals who have high barriers, high needs that are preventing them from entering into services or entering into shelter. So there was really an expressed need for an increase in supportive services, and then also supportive housing. They're really that next step, to permanent long-term housing, which allows those extra supports that some individuals just need longer-term support and assistance with, and whether that is job developments, whether that is again mental health services or AODA services. To have supportive housing is something that will benefit a number of those individuals in our community who are struggling with housing security and trying to get back to some sort of sense of normalcy or back to society. So with that, looking at this budget, the way that we broke it up was we put $1 million we set aside in the bucket for the development of affordable rental housing. And then we set another large amount of money, $753,000 approximately, for supportive services. And whether that is going to fund the addition of staff for organizations to help increase their capacity, to add those mental health professionals or add those AOD programs, or if there's a developer that's coming forward that is looking to build that supportive housing product, that we have money set aside to help with starting that service or starting that program if it's needed. And then we understand that there's a max, for set aside for administration and planning. We want as much of these funds to go into the community as possible. So we really we didn't want to max out that limit there. So we only set aside approximately 10% for administration planning. And as we proceed with moving these funds, investing these funds into the community and to area organizations, if we see that there's a shift in need, that we need to reallocate some funds, we would certainly come back to this body here with a request to amend that plan. And we've done that in the past before when we've had either projects fall through or needs change, where we've come back and asked to reallocate funds to different line items. But essentially that's where we're at. As far as the timeline goes, we're right here, we're looking for the approval of the RDA on this proposed budget and this plan. It would then move for approval. And then after council approval, there would be a 14-day public comment period, where the public would have an opportunity to offer feedback, last-minute feedback, or suggestions. And then if there's no substantial amendments needed or changes to the budget, then this would get submitted to HUD. As far as what the turnaround time is for HUD to approve these plans, I can't say. I know that we just received a survey from our area HUD rep wanting to see what municipalities, where they were at with submitting this plan. We are among the very few who are submitting this first quarter, who are shooting to submit this plan to HUD first quarter. Many other municipalities are first looking at getting their plans submitted to HUD by second quarter and some even third. So I don't have, any other municipality to compare to, just to kind of gauge how fast HUD is turning these around. But once HUD stamps this with their approval, then we would have access to the 1.9 million, which we could then begin, issuing applications and RFPs for to get that out into our community.
I would, first of all, very well thought out plan, a lot of details.
Yes.
And I would guess there's some advantages to get HUD before some of the other communities or not. You're kind of ahead of the ball game as compared to other communities, which I would think would be an advantage. Would
Right,
that-
it is, and we don't have, there's, as far as when these funds need to be expended by, these funds don't need to be expended until or 2030 is when we would have to get all these funds drawn down by. And whatever funds remain after 2030, they would need to be returned to HUD. So I don't foresee any issues getting these dollars out the door before that deadline. But that being said, even though we have time, so to say, I mean, the purpose of these funds is to get them out into the community, to get them invested, to get some housing units developed, to get some services created. And so we certainly want to get these, again, like I said, out as quick as possible.
To answer your question, I think I would say, Mr. Chair, that I think actually HUD is probably appreciative of when communities like Green Bay, who are as organized as our guys are, get their information in, they're able to move on it faster. I'm sure there's no official policy anywhere, but I'm sure they're appreciative of a fast response from our staff. So.
Uh,
I
I had a question.
hold on, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I was just wondering, Will or Neil, if there's a chance that council could see this PowerPoint. I know that we get our agendas and we look at things on our own, but I think it was very helpful to see that. So I'm just, I think with Redevelopment Authority too, a lot of times you do have PowerPoints, you have a lot of different projects going on, and I think it would just be helpful if that could be shared at council.
Yeah, I can certainly attend the council meeting and share this information if requested or if asked. Because I know, again, I understand that there's a lot of funding out there, and even, just talking about home ARP, some of the organizations are confusing it with the ARPA funds, and it's just, it's important to provide that context, I think, to understand really what these funds are, where they're coming from, and what they can and can't be used for.
Okay, thanks, Will.
Yeah.
Very obvious, Will. You've done your homework and are very thorough. We appreciate that. Other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
What does $1 million get you? Like, what do you spend that on?
Yeah, no, you're right. That's a fair question, and HUD even asks that, in their template. And I've even gone into, when I'm going to these conversations with area service providers and organizations and even general public, it's like, look, in all honesty, 1.9 the whole 1.9 could easily get sucked up into one development project, one housing project. I mean, if you look at, for example, MF Housing Partners, right? They were before the RDA. They have a planning option for our 1100 block Walnut there. They're looking at 43 units. And they're, we gave them, I promised them 800,000 in assistance, which is fairly close for 43 units. So, and granted, not all of those are home funded even. So we were conservative in our estimate. We're looking in the plan, I believe I wrote about 14 to 15 units that this could fund. So as far as the $1 million goes, which I know, again, in the grand scheme, it certainly is not going to meet the true need, but it's more units online. It's more than we had before, and it's using funding that we didn't have accessible to us before either.
Deb?
How easily is this amendable?
Sure. Yeah, it's fairly easy. I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it, but we would simply come back with an RDA agenda item asking to amend the plan to reallocate funds. There would be a comment period. In the past, it's been a 30-day comment period, but that has been one of the amendments with the home ARP program. They've reduced that to 14 days, to half that time. So there'd be a public comment period, and then it would be amended.
Just in case something would come up and you needed to move stuff around, right?
But right.
Mhm.
Yes, go ahead.
Here,
Chris.
I apologize. I have to leave. I don't know if there are more questions, or I can stick around for a couple of minutes if I can make a motion if we're ready to do that.
I think we are.
All right, I will make a motion to approve and recommend to the Common Council the City of Green Bay's action plan for the Home America Rescue Plan entitlement program as presented.
Second,
Okay, motion
Barbara
made,
Dorf.
second
Yeah.
by Dorf.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, Will. Excellent job like always. Thanks.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks, Melanie.
Number 3, consideration of possible action on a 6-month extension to the 2020 CDBG CARES agreement with NewCap. Is that Krista? No?
Krista's out today, so I'm actually I'm gonna sub in for her and deliver this item to you.
Right.
So as you recall, back in January, the Redevelopment Authority entered into agreement with NewCap to use a portion of the Green Bay's CARES funds to provide rental and mortgage assistance to Green Bay residents who are experiencing financial issues from the pandemic. The agreement was from January 21st, or sorry, January 2021 to January 2022. And then if there were any funds unexpended, they would be returned back to the city. We did receive a letter, which was included in the packet from NewCap requesting an extension to the agreement for the rental and mortgage assistance program. It did not start until October 2021, which presented a very short timeline to get all of the funds out that they were awarded. So an extension granted by the RDA would provide NewCap time to assist Green Bay residents and extend this program further to get these funds out the door. We did offer, I should say the RDA offered a 6-month extension, which was similar to this situation to legal action. And then staff recommends an extension of this agreement with NewCap through July 31st.
The date, you're pleased with the partnership we have with NewCap?
Yeah, we have not had any issues, at least that Krista has made me aware of. I've been working closely with her on these CARES funds, and none that I'm aware of. We've not experienced any issues with NewCap and the administration of this program.
Okay, questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve a 6-month extension to the 2020 CDBG CARES agreement with NewCap.
Motion by Debbie,
Second.
and a second by Kathy. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all those in favor, saying aye.
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 So carried. Thank you. Excellent. All right, informational. Number 1, update on redevelopment project at 158 North Maple Avenue to provide affordable student housing for UWGB Civic Scholars program. I thought the report you handed out in regard to this agenda item was very clear. Of course, there's one part I like the most, and that there's a potential they would be privately owned, and that's great. Get back in the tax roll. But questions or comments in regard to the report? So you're making progress.
We are
We are making progress.
I'm glad you went through, it's, I think the important thing was, if we can get this back on the tax rolls, but I'm also thankful that a number of you actually came through the house and took a look
Yes.
at the structure, which gives you kind of,
Beautiful.
right, some idea of why we're fighting for this house so much. One of the things, and maybe we can give you an update, and I apologize to, I don't know, is Paul, Ken, David are here
They're still here.
for this super long meeting, but we've actually made progress on this project, which is really exciting. And we've always had UWGB as our partner, but we now have base companies that has agreed to work with us on this project as well in supplying, I think is Josh here? He might have left too, but we did get an email from Paul basically looking at partnering with us and also on Broadway, which we still have hanging out there as a potential partner as well, to look at working with us on analyzing the deal structure, looking at the capital stack, managing the project. He's got staff right now looking at the cost of redeveloping the property. And we know those are going to be very high at this point. So we're going to look at that, and also as potentially being a partner in owning the property and then working with us as being like a private owner that will work with GB and work with us on that capital project. So I don't know if we want to open the floor, Paul, if you have anything to say. And I know we're already later in the meeting, but these guys waited a long time. So if they have anything to say, I'd like to give them the opportunity to speak if possible.
I
Absolutely.
move to open the floor.
Alder
Second.
Second by Kathy, I believe.
Yep.
All in favor, someone saying aye.
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 Aye, opposed? Floor is open. Please give us an update. Thank you. Whoever wants to talk.
I'm sorry, did you say my name?
I guess anybody who wants to give us additional information on this agenda item. The floor is open to the public.
Or if anyone has any questions for either Paul or Ken or David.
I think Paul's here. I saw him online, and I can say from UWGB's perspective, we're very excited about this. We had a meeting with Paul and Josh and Ken and Will, and I think it's great. It brings a lot of help. One of the issues that the university has is that we're not in a position to own this property, and I know. So having a third party like that, I think we're all on the same page about the understanding. We've got a lot of students, that projects, and we can take care of a lot of the logistics, and then Base and Paul and Josh can really provide something that the university is just not in a position to do.
Excellent. Any other comments from the floor, from the public? It's exciting. It's only a great partnership.
Yes.
And you guys have made a lot of progress since we took a tour of the building. It's very neat, very good. And
Did you?
I'll speak if that's okay.
Absolutely, Paul.
Is that okay?
Yes.
I think we've gotten up to speed on this project, and I think what I just wanted to, be most respectful for is Will and Ken both reached out individually, and you can sense their passion for the neighborhood, and I think as a kind of a compliment or extension of what's been going on at the rail yard. And I told these guys, I'm like, hey, if you ever need a pick me up in your day, talk to a guy like Brent Weicker that fully believes in the cycles, of what these neighborhoods are going to play out. So I think Brian and Ken and Will, they all live over in this area. So it's a complicated project, but easy for me to commit our staff time, I guess, to correcting that. But I think we've got a pretty good handle on it. We understand there's going to be some complex documentation amongst the stakeholders involved here, but we also understand that this is a community-based project that'll continue to enhance the visibility of our university, especially in the urban core. And I think that's so important for our community to, we've got a little bit of that going on with their urban hub and WISIS and things like that, but we need more of it. So we're glad to help if we can. We can certainly be that taxable owner, and we also understand kind of the deal structure is a community driven as well. So we've had some good meetings. I just wanted to add that confidence to the group and the body here today. Thank you for the time.
excellent.
Thanks, Paul.
I see a familiar face out there, Ken. Is there anything you'd like to add to the discussion?
No, I think David and Paul pretty much covered it. It's good to see that we've had some positive traction on our meetings here. I think one of the biggest keywords that I took away from one of our meetings was the snowball effect of, if we get this project going, or when we get this project going, the potential for future projects like this, and keeping those partnerships rolling. And we come across these properties all the time where it's like, what do we do? I think we have that group together now to do something with these. So thank you guys.
Excellent. Other questions or comments? We'll go back to regular order of business, please.
I move that we go back to regular order of business.
Order. Kathy, I think I heard you say second. I'm just-
Second.
I'm just teasing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Excellent progress, guys, and keep up the work, and that's gonna be a beautiful building. It's all done.
Yes.
Great partnership. Thank you. All right, yes, update, Rhonda, I'm sure this is you. Update on current RDA owned properties.
Yes, I'm excited to be able to go over what we've been going through. The last year, we've been concentrating mostly on creative affordable housing, developing on our infill lots, and of course, the shipyard. We did have some requests for proposals sent out, which we did get some large developments. Two in the shipyard with Impact 7 and Merge. We have the 1100 block of Walnut Street with MF Housing Partners, and then we have the two small Maker Solutions and UWGB. In total, we have RDA owned properties of 151 parcels. And I have them broke down into like 3 different categories. One being there's 65 parcels that are considered active. That means that they are buildable, they're ready to be developed. They are ones that we are actively marketing, such as the Shower and Schumacher buildings, the new community center over by Vanderbrack and Eastman. And then obviously the buildable lots that we had that we were using the New Homes in Your Neighborhood grant. Then we have the on hold, which are 66 parcels. Those are already leased parcels. They're being used by River's Edge Apartments, Storage Garage, the Community Policing Center, recently demoed properties, or research is in progress that we're moving further to see what we can do to make those more developable for our single family. And then we have the planning option or development, which are 19 parcels, which make up our current planning options. Last year in 2021, we did acquire 6 lots and disposed of 5. 2 of the lots that we received were gifted by JBS. 3 parcels were gifted by G&K Properties. And then we acquired 321 Law Street from the tax deed foreclosure, which is for a single home development. And then we disposed of 4 single lots to Habitat for Humanity, and Laments Construction did purchase our 1255 Cherry Street for development of a single family home there. This coming year, 2022, we are going to expand on our development for affordable and market rate homes. A lot of the properties that we have are going to come out. FEMA's redoing their flood maps. Therefore, later this year, some of those properties will be coming out of the floodplain, which some of them being like in Old North, I think are going to make those much more appealing, much more marketable for infill lots, because those people aren't going to be required if they build to have flood insurance. And we are continually working with larger developers. In fact, I've spent time in the last 2 months with developers for the Shower and Schumacher buildings. I was hoping that we were going to have a planning option ready for this RDA agenda, but it looks like they're going to have to push it to the March one. So strong possibility on that one.
Excellent.
And I'm open to any questions.
First of all, I compliment you on the format. It's very easy to understand and follow. You know, which ones are active, which ones are on hold.
Yes.
You know, everybody else can chime in.
We've got that great big spreadsheet, Mr. Chair, if you want to see it, but we kind of thought this was a little easier.
This was a lot.
Oh, this is great.
It's a great tool. Is it true? And I'm not sure. The only 2 that actually have buildings on them, the Shower Schumacher and the 158 North Maple, or is there anything else that has buildings?
Nope, you are correct. We had 3 of them that got demoed this year.
Okay.
So now it's just those existing, the Shower and Schumacher and the 158 North Maple.
The first.
What about,
Oh,
what
and the
about the
community center on Vanderbrack.
community center?
Sorry about that. Yep.
Right.
Yep. Gotcha. But it's community center, but we're not actively thinking to develop that. I mean, it is what it is, right? It's a community center. It's gonna stay that way or not?
That,
We
go
purchased
ahead.
We purchased that with block grant. Our goal is to have part of that to be the community center for the neighborhood. That's the one that had the full commercial kitchen in it.
Oh,
So we've been working on looking at nonprofits or how we can redevelop that into a community center. So that one will stay up.
okay, gotcha. Very good. Our first agenda item, when we talked about, 419 North Broadway, there was a parcel that I think the city owned, is there also one the RDA owned, right?
There's one that I believe there's one the Housing Authority owns, is that Cheryl, in that back area? I thought is actually one, and then the other one is actually the City of Green Bay parcel. So technically not an RDA parcel.
Okay.
So
I understand. Questions or comments in regard to Rhonda's presentation, which is extremely well done.
Very well.
Bridget, where are you? Bridget. So,
I'm right here. I don't have any comments.
okay. Well, one of our meetings, I know you're very curious about the properties you own. Well, this is kind of a recap. So, and actually for all of us, but especially in this format, it's so much easier to follow and understand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
and certainly if anyone has any questions after this, certainly if something comes up, certainly just email staff and let us know. We're happy to get a response back to you. So
Excellent job, Rhonda. Keep up the good work.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, number 3. I didn't have any questions on the financial report or check register. I don't know if anybody else did. And number 4, director's report and update. Very busy young man.
just we're not slowing down from 2021, that's for sure. Looks like we're going to keep right on going through 2022, which we're completely okay with that. That's good. I'm doing a lot of work right now, certainly working with Mayor Genrick and on the ARPA funding, kind of starting to bring some of those projects forward. Obviously Will's, his offshoot of his home funds is one slice of the funding that we're looking at coming through. The city has their own allocation that we're starting to, we've had general categories of budgets approved. We're starting to bring specific projects through regarding those individual categories. We're starting to bring those forward. We are also working on just a brief update on TWG. We have actually discovered that 2 of the principals who we have worked with regularly are no longer with TWG. So we're kind of hitting the reset button a little bit with this, with them as a developer, and trying to set up a meeting to kind of get up to speed on where we're at with that. So their zoning has been okay. Their development agreement has not moved. We have not brought that forward. That was directed by this body to go ahead and proceed with that, subject to a couple of responses to staff requests for information. That has not been met yet, so we have not moved that project forward. So just to recap, we're kind of asking folks to some updates on some building issues related to Broadway lofts that they're working with our building code office on. Also working with specific financial, they had made a request to extend that. We've asked the city to ask the joint review board to extend the TIF in this area by 3 years. We're waiting for that, essentially waiting for that financial explanation on why, just to document why they need that. Again, so they haven't provided that. So we're hopeful that some of the slow responses have just simply been because of probably these personnel changes that have been in place. So we'll be reaching out and scheduling those. I think the mayor has actually asked that we set up a meeting with them as well to just kind of see exactly really where they're at and try to keep that moving. Mr. Belschner has been great to work with in terms of his team in reviewing the development agreement and so forth on that. But we're kind of needing to get, again, we're back to making sure that we get the developer needs to come back and make sure we're getting all of our information moving forward. So when that does move forward, we will certainly provide that update and share additional information on that. So with that, those are the kind of the highlights, and certainly available to answer any questions if anyone has any.
One quick question on TWG. The fellow that made the presentation a couple months ago, wherever, is he not one of the
That was Michael Taft. He is one of the gentlemen who is no longer there. And then John Sullivan was the other one who was kind of, I think, higher up on his, and he is no longer with TWG. So we have a brand new guy, it sounds like. So we're trying to make sure that we don't know exactly how familiar he is with the background and history of the project at this point. So, but we are reaching out to them and trying to getting a formal conversation set up. And they have, I mean, they reached out and provided that contact. So they are at least a good sign is they did reach out and let us know of those changes. So
good luck with that. I hope things go well. Thank you. Questions or comments for Neil or anyone on staff? Somebody must have a question for Mr. Mayor. Is he still on there? I'm just teasing. I guess that's it. Our next meeting is March 8th. Unless somebody else has something, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Great meeting, like always. Thank you, Alderdorf. And
Second.
bye,
Debbie. Yep.
Debbie.
Excellent meeting again. Very exciting
Yep.
thing going on in the city of Green Bay. It never ceases to amaze me. Thank you, everyone. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.